Humans have souls, but can you believe that our world has a soul too? Well, the Aztecs do, and that soul is depicted through the character named Tezcatlipoca. This divine deity was often referred to as the creator of the heavens and the earth, both powerful and arbitrary. And not only this, but he was also the patron of all men who were rich, nobles, leaders, warriors, and merchants, and probably the most important god in the Aztec pantheon. This makes his story an intriguing one to discover, and that is what we've brought to you in this video. But before we begin, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new to our channel, so you stay updated on all our amazing uploads in the future. Now, let's get started. So, the Aztecs believed that the world as we know it was formed at the start of an era known as the Fifth Sun, after a catastrophic flood that wiped out everything from the preceding age of the Fourth Sun, including both living creatures and inanimate objects. The Fifth Sun came to be. 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐤, also known as the Earth God, was a gigantic monster that swam in the great expanse of water that remained after the flood. She was covered in eyes and mouths, and hunted throughout the vast ocean for living flesh. Tezcatlipoca and 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐞, his brother, were chosen to create the new world of the Fifth Sun. While some of the legends claim that Tezcatlipoca and 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐞 worked together, most stories depict them as competing for the same objective. They turned into snakes and sought 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤 in her watery depths. They found her and split her in two. She did, however, bite off one of Tezcatlipoca's feet during the conflict. Despite being defeated, 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤 let her lower half be thrown upward by the brothers, creating the sky. Her back made the mountains, her sides became rivers, and her top half was transformed into the ground. This means that the Earth Goddess, who gave life to both the soil and the sky, was sacrificed for the sake of humanity. So, it was a common belief that she must be rewarded for her sacrifice with the sacrifice of blood and hearts of men. Soon after, Tezcatlipoca transformed into the first sun, and the rivalry between him and 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤 grew. Unfortunately, his missing foot prevented him from being a whole sun. 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤 was enraged by the shortcoming and gave him a blow with a large stick and flung him over into the water. He then proceeded to turn himself into the second sun. After his fall from grace, Tezcatlipoca changed into a jaguar and killed all of the men that had been created in the age of the first sun. 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤's reign as the sun would soon come to an end, as Tezcatlipoca would exact his vengeance. The two brothers were undoubtedly on equal footing at this time, but Tezcatlipoca was still unsatisfied. He deceived 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐶𝐿 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤, a manifestation of 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤, into taking pulque and getting very drunk. In his drunkenness, 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐶𝐿 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤 slept with his celibate priestess sister. The king banished himself into humiliation after realizing what he had done when he awakened the following morning. Although 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤's departure gave Tezcatlipoca control over the contemporary era, the Aztecs foretold that 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤 may return at some point in the future to reclaim his reign. The reigning god's name meant the smoking mirror, and he was often represented by an obsidian mirror. The omnipresence of Tezcatlipoca was a crucial component of his power. Though his influence went well beyond obsidian, he was frequently portrayed with a mirror made of the material. Any reflection served as a window for him to observe the outside world. However, obsidian was employed for purposes other than reflection. Obsidian knives were used for human sacrifice and ritual bloodletting. All of these rites had a connection to Tezcatlipoca. Smoke and steam always indicated Tezcatlipoca's presence, whether they came from a ceremonial censer or a natural source, like a hot spring. Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire, was situated in a volcanic area, where smoke and steam venting were likely common occurrences. Tezcatlipoca could have constantly kept a watch on Tenochtitlan because the city was located near the active volcano Popocatépetl, which could be seen from there on a clear day. Additionally, Tezcatlipoca was often associated with jaguars, and many people thought he could transform into one. It was thought that coming into contact with one of these big cats at night, or simply dreaming about one, was equivalent to coming into contact with a deity. Tezcatlipoca is frequently shown in art with his left leg missing, a burning or obsidian mirror in its place, and a horizontal black band running across his eyes. Every year he used to choose a young, attractive man, he wouldn't have a scar on his body, to be his representative. This man was called Tezcatlipoca's 𝐸𝐵𝐿𝐵. He had a great capacity for learning music, and while serving as Tezcatlipoca's living image, 8 page boys were always by his side. Together they would stroll Tenochtitlan's streets at night, playing flute solos that were melancholic. All those he encountered in the streets would bow down to him in respect as he attended the festivities and banquets that the nobility prepared. So where was the problem with this perfect way of life? A year after the 𝐸𝐵𝐿𝐵 was chosen, he was sacrificed to mark the beginning of the spring Tezcatl festivities. He was married to 4 women who were goddess-like maidens 20 days before to this day. In an abandoned temple outside the city center, his sacrifice would take place in front of no witnesses. The 𝐸𝐸𝐵𝐿𝐵 slowly and willfully ascended into the pinnacle of the temple, dropping one of his flutes with each ascent. When he was with the priests, 4 of them held him spread-eagled while their leader hacked into his chest and removed his heart. The peatless body was revered even after death, and his skull was kept in the 𝐸𝐸𝐺𝐵𝐺, also known as the skull flag, a rack that held the skulls of all sacrificed victims. The most recent 𝐦𝐨𝐫𝐞 skin was presented to the chosen Tezcatlipoca impersonator for next year to wear as a cloak. You see, for us, holding the title of Tezcatlipoca's 𝐦𝐨𝐫𝐿 was not worth attending any number of feasts. However, the Aztecs thought that being selected for this position was a tremendous honor. During his reign, families that owned slaves released them from their chains, cleaned and dressed them, and gave them presents. Why? Because they were considered to be Tezcatlipoca's children. It was believed that if anybody mistreated a slave at this time, they would be punished, losing all of their money or being ill with leprosy, tumors, gout, scabies, or dropsy. If slaves went missing, became free or prosperous, or a slave owner lost his fortune, it was all down to Tezcatlipoca. It seemed simple. Humility was the key to success, or pleasing the god, while arrogance may earn one's wrath, and ultimately lead to one's demise. Tezcatlipoca wasn't anyone's loyal friend. He was just seeking for an excuse to destroy and devastate, or to create and spend. That was his nature. 𝐤𝐤𝐤 had many names and identities. As 𝐤𝐤𝐤, or we as slaves, Tezcatlipoca symbolized a source of omnipotence. In his capacity, the deity accomplished whatever he pleased, since no one, human or immortal, could stand in his way. His position as probably the most powerful of all Aztec deities was measured by Nahua belief that he had the capacity to demolish and drag down the sky, destroying all living creatures. Other names such as 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿, enemy, confirm his position as the sower of discord. 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐻𝐿, or male youth, classed him as patron of the 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐻𝐿, school of commoners. Additionally, he was called 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐿, night wind, 𝐦𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐻𝐿, to read, and 𝐜𝐨𝐤𝐤𝐞, 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐻𝐿, professor of sky and earth. And that is all there is to get a brief understanding about the Aztec deity. Where are your thoughts on him? Make sure you let us know down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on our future uploads. We'll see you next time with another amazing story. Until then, goodbye.